Welcome to another episode of the Creator Following Podcast. Today, I want to talk about something that we all suffer from and deal with from time to time, maybe a little too often or maybe not very often at all, but that's okay. And it is creative block. How to deal with obstacles. All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is creative block and how it literally can demolish everything that you've worked for. It's going to happen, and you need to prepare for it. That's just the bottom line. So I'm not going to call myself an expert in this area. Like, I don't know the magic wand thing to do in order to not have creative block ever, but I have dealt with it quite a bit. I do have seasons where I kind of fall into a depression and have a hard time creating. And so I wanted to talk about it to give you a few key things that I like to do to hopefully get over that hump or over that obstacle. And then at the end, I would like to highlight 3 things that I like to do when I hit creative block. Hopefully these things will help you to prevent being stopped by creative block completely in the future. All right, so I'm going to go through the few things that you can do in order to hopefully get over your creative block quickly if you need to be working and need to be coming up with a solution and creating solutions to problems, which is what creatives do. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to take a break and to literally walk away from what I'm doing for just a moment. If it's even for just 5 minutes, that sometimes is key for me to keep continuing to do what I would like to do, because I just need literally a mental break, or I need to just think about something else real quick because I'm getting overwhelmed with the task at hand. So taking a break and walking away for 5 minutes actually can be very helpful when you come to a creative block. Another thing that I like to do in order to give myself a break is to read a book or read the Bible. I know it sounds cheesy, but sometimes when I give the right side of my brain a rest and then use my analytical side and try to focus on something else, it helps me to be more imaginative. And sometimes when I'm reading something, I am often inspired by it so that I can continue on and kind of jump over that hurdle. The third thing I like to do is I like to utilize my other creative habits. So whatever other creative things I like to do, I like to focus on them for a little bit and then come back to the other thing. That's why I have like a few different creative outlets. Another thing I like to do is I like to listen to music. You can also be inspired by music, and I feel like whenever you're actually playing music in the background of what you're doing, if your thing isn't playing music, you are usually pretty inspired to do something. And if you listen to a wide array of types of music, it kind of keeps your brain like going because you're subconsciously focusing on like a different type of music, and then the next song kind of re-jumps your brain in order for you to not necessarily be too laser focused on what you're doing and then come to a creative block. Nikki Rowe once said, "Solitude is where I put my chaos to rest and awaken my inner peace." So this next practical thing is solitude. Literally getting away from everything and just being in peace and quiet makes your creative life just flourish, because I feel like it helps you to relax and focus less on the task at hand in order to give your brain a rest, in order to give that chaos going through your mind a rest, so that you can continue to be creative and you can continue to be inspired and you can continue to dig deep into those things that maybe you haven't even discovered yet in the recess of your imagination. And I feel like having times of quiet, like a quiet time, I have a daily devotional that I usually do pretty often. Sometimes I'll do twice in one day, and I actually am fulfilled by that because it gives me time to rest, and it gives me time to pour into my heart and into my soul, so that it sets my whole day up for inspiration and creativity and just more things that I can do and new ways to look at things. So having that quiet time is very important when you are leading a creative life. And the last practical thing isn't necessarily the best practical thing, but it is because of the place that you might find yourself in. If you find yourself met with a drastic creative block, like you have literally gone days without being able to break through that thing, sometimes you need to walk away. This is very hard, and it is a crucial moment in your life, but it's something that I feel like every creative person has to face at some point, if not a few times. Whenever you hit a creative block that leaves you stranded for days or weeks, it is usually a sign of you overworking yourself or maybe overdoing it. This is a very crucial moment in a creative's life because you have to make the decision whether or not you're going to take a break for an indefinite amount of time to try to come back to that thing, or if you're going to walk away altogether. And who knows, you could come back to it later on, but you could literally walk away and start a new chapter. I've experienced this, and it's important to have creative balance in your life so that you don't get overworked in one area and then come to a complete stop or a complete halt and possibly have to walk away from that thing, because it's a very painful process, and people usually suffer a lot from it, and don't find a way to ever bounce back. So we want to keep away from that, and we want you to lead a nice, healthy, creative life. So if you need to take that break, take that break. That last practical step brings me to the second part of this episode, which is 3 things that you can do to hopefully prevent creative block or prevent that creative obstacle that you might end up facing in the future. If not, probably to help prevent them at all. That would be the hope. So the first key thing that I do is I try to create a healthy balance in my creative life. Having other things to do so that you don't get burnout is awesome, and it kind of helps prevent you from getting like stressed out in one area or stressed out in all areas, because you are literally trying to balance time that you use on certain aspects of your life. I just want to say that this thing is kind of one of the key things that I try to do in order to not meet a creative block or not meet a creative hurdle, because it's a very inconvenient thing to happen, especially when you need to be on your game and you need to be producing things and you need to be making stuff for other people. You don't want to meet a creative block in that crucial moment. So having that healthy balance is key in order to have a healthy creative life and to help mitigate those creative blocks. The second thing I like to do is a very hard thing for creatives, and that is to bring people in and to be about community. Listen, I know we artists get in our own little bubble, in our own little world of whatever it is that we want to call it the creative process, but honestly, you need people. People need people. That's how we are. That is how humans are created, for connection. So bringing somebody else in to help you out in that process is awesome. I have literally come to a block and on something creative, like creating a logo, and I will ask for help from somebody like, hey, will you come look at this for a second and tell me maybe what isn't working or what I can do or what you think would work, because I have literally come to a dead stop on this and I don't know where to go from here. It's awesome because it allows somebody to pour into your life. They feel like really good about that you respect them enough and you think that highly of them for them to like have their input in what you're making. And it also provides you with a community of like, hey, we're in this together. We get to do this all together. And I don't know, it just strengthens that bond. And I feel like it makes your creative work actually stronger and more vibrant, because you have like an outside perspective and you're able to speak to a wider audience because of that thing. Another thing bringing community in does is it provides accountability. So it helps you to kind of stay in focus without being so super focused on what you're doing. It helps take a little bit of the burden off of you, but it also helps you to stay connected to the outside world. It's very important for a creative to be connected to the outside world, because if you shut yourself in, then the world continues to adapt and continues to grow without you. And by the time you come out of your cave or your hole, you will be like devastated, because things are so different and things have advanced so quickly that you obviously don't know like in which direction you can even go to catch up. So stay connected to people, bring other people into that thing to help you get away from that hurdle and past that creative block. And then the third thing that I like to do in order to hopefully prevent creative block or a creative obstacle or hurdle altogether is to take a Sabbath. I will not lie to you, it is very hard for me to rest. But over the past few years, I have literally met myself in a very desperate situation where I literally feel emptied out creatively. And thank God for my husband. He is the reason in my life, like the reason. He'll literally tell me when I'm like frustrated, when I'm like done, when I'm empty, he'll say, when is the last time we actually had fun? When is the last time that we took a vacation? When is the last time that we like got away from it all? And it makes me realize how important it is to schedule these things. I am a scheduler and I am type A, I am DI, whatever you want to call, whatever on a personality test. I am like the amped version of anything. So taking the steps in order to schedule in those moments, days, a week, sometimes 2 weeks, to just get away from it all and to not think about it can recharge you so much. It's like taking a battery and being able to take it up to like 200% sometimes. So it's very important for you to schedule and intentionally put in sabbaticals and times of rest where you get away in your creative life in order to mitigate those obstacles and to hopefully come away with something new, grow within yourself, and lead a healthy creative life. I hope that these practical things you can do and the 3 important practical things that you can do to hopefully prevent yourself from creative block in the future was very helpful for you. I know that from experience is very helpful for me to put all this stuff into perspective, and I honestly love that I have these takeaways now, because whenever I do get to a creative block, I can literally be like, low, stop, what you're doing. Remember what you need to be doing. What is it that you're needing right now? Do you need to take a break? Do you need to walk away? Do you need to have a sabbatical or a vacation? Do you need the help of a friend? Just any of these things to help me go through my creative life much more smoothly than I used to when I didn't have these practical takeaways. So I hope that this episode helps you out, and I hope that most of you out there don't even have this problem. But if you do, and you maybe know somebody that does, maybe you can tell them a little bit about this episode and about creator following, and hopefully that helps them lead a healthy and awesome and fulfilling creative life. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this YouTube channel or subscribe to our podcast if that's how you like to listen. All right, till next time.
And might help if I turn the volume up. And here we go. I see that face.
I need to get my shot. This podcast episode, wow. This podcast episode brought to you by Zapp's Voodoo Chips. I'm just playing. We're actually not sponsored by them, but we would love to be. Please. Zapp's, I love your chips.